Good morning, everyone. This is Fastman team. We'll be getting started shortly. Let's just give it a couple more minutes for people to join, and we'll get started momentarily. Thank you. I see some people rolling in right now. Okay, we'll get going in a couple of minutes. Just let people arrive. Looks like we're going to have a nice audience today. All right. Okay, it's I have 8:02 here, Renita. I'm sure it's 11:02 where you are.
Yeah.
So good. Maybe we should kick it off for everybody here today. If you want, I'll start her up if you like. Okay, we've got a few more people coming in, I can see. Okay, why don't we just get started then? I'm sure they'll join in as we go here. So yeah, good day everyone, and welcome to this to a 30-minute Fastman webinar. I'm Brian Lapointe, and I'm joined by Renita Day, who is our expert ECM consultant from the Fastman Professional Services team. Today, we are diving deeper into the capabilities and relevant use cases for the new release of the Fastman Bulk Data Manager CE edition. And it's for the OpenText Extended ECM platform, also known as Content Suite. The intent of the session today is to quickly illustrate what's new, and then we want to demonstrate several real-world scenarios we see our customers using it for. And you know, whether you're a system integrator or an end user of OpenText Content Suite, you will immensely benefit from this solution. You'll see that what it does, it reduces that build time that you have, and you can start your migrations much faster as you're planning your projects. Plus, it can be used later on for ongoing operations. So it's multifaceted in that way. As a reminder, this is an interactive session, so please do take advantage of, we got the chat through the GoToWebinar, so ask questions. We'll be reviewing those at the end or responding real time. And we'll, you know, like I said, we'll be monitoring. So with no further ado, looks like we've got a good audience that joined us today. Thank you, everyone. Let's get started, Renita. I'm gonna start off first with a few poll questions. So please bear with me as I put these up there, and please participate. And so we'll start off with the first one. Let's see how this works. Are you able to see the poll, or do I gotta hit the launch button, Renita?
I don't see it. Oh yeah, I can see it now.
So basically asking, how is your OpenText Content Suite environment deployed? Are you running it on-prem? Is it a managed service? Is it in some kind of a cloud like the OT cloud? So if that'd be great to get some feedback on that one. So far, it looks like the on-prem is leading, but there is someone on a lockdown managed service. Yeah, it looks like 75% on-prems, 25% managed services. No one mentioned the OT cloud. Okay, but you know, people, this is what we're trying to get to. How are you running it? Are you thinking about going to it, and so forth? Let me close. We'll close out. Oh, things shifted. Now it's like 60-40, 60 on-prem, 40 managed services. So thank you for the participation. I'm going to close this one. And I got another question for you. How fun is that? So essentially asking, Are you using business workspaces and or are you running any kind of an extended ECM integration? So what are you doing there? So, what's the response? Are you doing it in folders? I'm using both. Sometimes I get folders. I'm starting to move the business workspaces, right? Anyone using any of the Microsoft Office 365 integration that's out there, Salesforce, SuccessFactors, SAP? That's kind of what we're getting to. And what do I see for results coming in? I'm seeing just as I see in results right here, 33% Renita still using traditional folders. Half are doing both, it looks like. So folders, which it seems like would be the logical thing for folders and business workspaces. And then it looks like 17% are saying they are using some form of an extended ECM integration. So good. So they're doing it or planning on doing it, so forth. So again, thank you for the feedback. Appreciate that. I'm going to close the poll as I walk you through the. I got one more for you. I'm an expert on GoToWebinar. Yeah, so I'm trying to read. Do you have to, do you ever need to bulk update your category attribute data or apply records management? So the question is, do you have to update existing content within Content Suite? Not just so much about the migration side of things or bringing it in that first time, but what about stuff that's been in there and you got to transform it to make it more relevant, compliant, controlled, whatever that may be. So I'm seeing a pretty 50, oh, it's changing right now. 60% yes, 33% no. Good. All right, let's just close that out. All right. And we'll move right along, right? Thank you for that. I appreciate the polls, everyone. Okay. Let me just talk a little bit about BDM CE. It's an ideal data transformation and a migration tool for extended ECM because it comes with several purpose-driven modules that let a system integrator use it, or a central IT department can safely enable it for their document controllers or business users later during operations. Okay, so it really helps out both use case of both users basically. Unlike tools such as Object Importer, BDM CE is an out-of-the-box application that requires no custom coding, okay, or scripting for that matter. You can use it to migrate your file shares, any Windows map drive, including other file sharing systems such as Box, OneDrive, or even SharePoint. The load taxonomy module is very popular. That's one of them that's listed right there on the left-hand side, right? And it lets you essentially ingest the folder structure, from that shared drive, assign a category, attribute, records management data on that whole import migration into Content Suite, right? Lets you do it very safely. We're going to show you that a little bit later. If the content already resides in Extended ECM, the Update Attributes module lets you bulk update those attributes, the records management, and you can do that from a built-in spreadsheet. So you can look at everything and do it in mass rather than have to click around in Content Suite or again, a custom web report or something along those lines to do those types of updates. Later on and during the demonstration, you'll see how Renita uses the pre-configured, we have like business profiles to drive the process for the document controller scenarios, and that's very helpful. This will include using that inline editing to bulk update your metadata, records management classifications, and then you'll see how it validates against Content Suite before it actually runs the job. And then, of course, later on, we'll show you how you get this really nice, robust set of log files to essentially, just validate and check your work, kind of make sure everything performed as expected and so forth. So it's great for doing tests and going back and forth. And then you can run the job, and when you come back later, you can say, hey, I ran a long job. Is it correct? You can validate against it, and you have all the data to, to basically make that assumption. Okay, so that's BDM. I think these four screenshots kind of help out well. You got the left is the modules, You got the business profiles up top where you can configure the business scenarios for, and safely use it, inline editing and log files, right? That's it in a nutshell. Okay, so what's really new about BDM? What's the big deal that we, at least from our perspective, from the Fastman perspective, and why it should be relevant to you? Um, as more organizations move their content suite instance to the cloud, or even deploy it as a managed shared service, we find that these OpenText environments to be locked down. And this restricts you from installing anything into these gold, if it's a gold build or whatever it is as when they publish it out. So it restricts you from doing that, well, at least without a lengthy approval process. Hey, I want to install something into my OpenText system. I can't, it can take a long time to get that approval. The previous version of Bulk Data Manager always required a small module to be installed into the content suite by the administrator, right? Fine when it's on-prem, you have that control, your environment, it works great. However, now with BDM CE, it no longer requires this module to be installed in Content Suite. Instead, we have improved it with basically a native API mode, as the diagram is showing right here. We're going to show you how we configure it. It's really quick. All you need to do is install a small BDM deployment server onto a Windows server environment. So BDM gets installed in its own deployment server in your environment, and then your migration SI, whoever you're working with, or your document controllers internally can use the BDM client interface to connect via the API mode to your OpenText Content Suite. And it's that simple, right? Nothing has to be installed on the Content Suite side. So if you're running OT Cloud or any other lockdown system, as long as you can get access to the APIs, the client interface will allow you to do your work. You log in with your regular or your OpenText Content Suite username and password, permissions are all adhered to, and so forth. So anyways, this is ideal for anyone looking to move to the, like I said, to the OT cloud, that lockdown environment, or even like I've seen the extended ECM for SAP SuccessFactors that's out there, the options that OpenText offers. So it's great. It's great for that, especially in those scenarios where you're not the administrator, right? And so it's hard to get access to the administrator. So that's what's new. That's what the big data really opens up many more customer scenarios. Or if you're going to the cloud, you're going to need a tool like this once you go to the cloud to something to consider to put it into your plan that I need to have something like this. So, okay, moving along, Renita, we're going to bring you up here in a minute here to kind of do a little show and tell demonstration of this webinar, and I'll hand it off to you shortly. But so she's quickly going to show how to configure for the API mode. Then we have several interesting business scenarios that illustrate the effectiveness of BDM CE. So I like these. We're going to start with the first-time content load to a business workspace. And this is kind of a common scenario that we get calls about. I got a call the other day. I just bought the extended ECM for Office 365, right? They want to use it with Teams, that bi-directional piece. And they're asking, will BDM help us configure the environment with the relevant content? This is going to be that first-time setup. I got to get this set up for my business users, and then they can take advantage of the integrations. In this scenario, we're going to actually use extended ECM. We're going to show it actually through the extended ECM for Salesforce, so it'll be interesting. And then we'll perform that all-important first-time load of content from a file share. And then later on, we'll show you how we can do a bulk update of the metadata and records management on the existing content in Content Suite. So, I mean, we could have done it in the first time load, but for demonstration purposes, we're going to break it in half and show you load the content. And then if you have to come back and make the changes as a second, this could be an operational situation. You can do that nicely. And this is a great way to get your content ready for consumption in your business scenarios without custom coding, or it'll be a lot of clicks if you had to do it manually through OpenText. What else? Later we'll show migrating content from SharePoint into Content Suite. So we have a SharePoint scenario. So if you want to bring that in, we'll talk about this. This is the same as if you wanted to, this could also be a shared drive or file sharing program like Box or Dropbox. So it's kind of the same way you could bring that content in the content suite if you're looking to centralize it. So with that said, Renita, are you all set to kind of step up here and take over?
Yeah, sure. Make me the presenter.
I need to make you the presenter. I found the magic button,
Mm-hmm.
and you are now becoming the presenter, I hope.
Okay. I hope my screen is visible. I'm going to reduce and move it. Oh, sorry. I'm going to just move this to the other screen and this as well to the other screen. Is my BDM tool up for everyone? Can you see that?
I can see BDM.
Okay, cool. So I'll drag and drop screens in this area so that when we talk about it, we can shift to content server, Salesforce that I've configured, and then we'll talk about the tools, right? So in this scenario that we are going to show today, we have integrated our content suite with Salesforce, and it's the first time connectivity that we have set up. So OpenText gives us great tools to create the business workspace for the first time. So what I've done just before the call is I have executed my batch creation jobs from Salesforce, and it has created all the relevant business workspaces that I needed for my demo scenario. So you can see that I have 16 workspaces created, not a lot, but still. For the scenario, I also have a SharePoint site up here, which is going to save or store the documents that were created by users previous to OpenText content server were installed, right? So my task is to move everything from the SharePoint site into content server. And for that, I'm going to use BDM. So I come in to my BDM tool, and as you showed, we have different modules that you can use. And I'm going to use the load taxonomy one, which is one of the most used feature by our customers, right? So I'm going to use the load taxonomy. I do have two options here, new and from Excel sheet. So new means a brand new load I'm going to start. From an Excel sheet would mean that I had started a load taxonomy, and for the metadata or the information that I need to put into content server, I want to do it offline, not inline editing. So I've saved that Excel sheet and I'm coming back to it at a later point of time. But for demonstration, I'm just going to stick to the new approach, right? In here, I get the screen where I can select the folder, right? So this is my Fastman directory that I have in here. And you can see that I have that account library synced into my, with my system. So you can see all these documents. There are some documents which are still in cloud. You can see the tick mark means it is downloaded. The cloud icon means it is not present in my local system right now. And I'm going to use this scenario right here. So I come in here and I'm going to select that particular folder area, right? Okay, and I have a few options in here, how I want to put the names in content server. I can remove the extension. I can remove anything after underscore, so that if you have like _1, 2, 3 or _Renita _Brian, when you had created documents in SharePoint, you can kind of like remove those, right? So I'm using that. I don't want anything after the underscore, and also I don't want the file name extension. I've selected everything in here. I go to the next button, which is going to fetch the location in which I have access to. So right now I'm logged in as admin, but as you told earlier, it is a great tool for business administrators as well. So if your business admins or your business users are using it, they will only see the folders that they have access to. Now, this is my SFTC setup. You can see under sales, I have the different folders where my business workspace were created, which I showed a few minutes back. And I'm going to use the account folder up here. So I selected that and I'm going to press the next button. Once that is done, you talked about profile very briefly. I have configured a very simple profile where I can allow the user to select RM classification if they want to. So it gives me that list or the classification tree that I've configured for this particular profile. And for now, I'm going to just select one unique RSI or RM classification. When I come in next, you can see that it has loaded all the documents from the file share. It's not actually a file share, it was actually a SharePoint site, and it has given me that list of it. And then it has mapped it to the correct folder structure that I wanted. So as you can see here, I have the name of the account, and then I have the name of the folders in which I want it to go. So these are being mapped into my inline editing tool or the Excel sheet that you have here. If I had configured metadata like categories, it would have given me that option, but I'm going to show that in the next demo scenario. So for now, I just have the node description, and I'll say node for SFTC. So I've used the line 3 to update everything. If you want, you can update individually as well. So that is allowed. Or you can save this Excel sheet and come back to it later with a new process altogether, where instead of new, you select from Excel sheet and go in, right? In here, you can see my information is being added, Renita, contracts, the subfolders, everything is there. This is my RM. So based on the classification, it identified the RM file number, and it is able to give you that information. Now I can change it if I want on individual file. And in this scenario, I don't want to really, so I don't have this file number, so it gave me an error. If I do have that, it will update that information on the screen. So it does that inline check as well to make sure that you are not entering anything wrong. Now, I don't want to really set up the RM right now because I want to set the RM based on some other information, like contracts should have a different RSI, meeting minutes should have a different RSI. So I'll come to that in a bit. So I'm going to just remove the RM classification for now. And this is where I can start my ingestion process. Now, there are two ways I can do it runtime. So right now, or I can schedule it as well to run maybe after office hours or during lunch breaks, right? So I have that option. So for that, I just need to click on finish button. You see schedule or run now, and I'm going to click on yes here, and it's going to start the process. And I'm going to very quickly come here, and you can see that it would download this file in a minute. In the BDM tool, you can see that it downloaded the file, and it's going to upload that document into Content Server as we speak, right? So it's going to take each document separately, start the upload process. If the document was not available, it will download it first and then start the uploading process, right? Once this is done, I would get a log file at the end of it, which will show you the statistics of this job, and then I can take that information in here. So it's doing some downloads for me. I'm sorry about that. And let me just click in here. If I do that, it's going to open the file for me up here, and you can see all the information that was added in here. I haven't put any categories or classification up in, so you can't see that, but it did inherit anything which you have said. So all OpenText core features are still intact, right? And let's go back to our screen in here. You can see it has moved on and is in the process of downloading and uploading all the documents that are there. So it's going a little faster now that all the cloud things are downloaded and going forward, right? So let's give it just a moment. And Brad, if you have anything to add, I think it's a great time to do that.
I've always liked the hyperlinks and how it takes you to the information side of the page. So, when you're running a job, triaging the situation and making sure it's been loaded the way you expect it to, it's a great way to do the check. So I always found that to be a very useful piece. And then it's like she's loading from a SharePoint site, but also from, like I said, this could be a map drive from box.com. People wanted to get off, bring in some files from your file sharing system.
That's right. And other thing is like it maintains the list of all the jobs that you started in. So you can go back to the log at any moment and you can see how it was or if there were any error messages. So you can see it has completed 33 files. It did download quite a few documents. So we have 4 seconds for each document, but it really depends from where you are doing. I downloaded them from the Australia SharePoint site and then uploaded it back to Australia data center where our content server is loaded. So you can guess there was a bit of latency from
I mean, that's a good point. You know, the our SharePoint site's on an Australian, you know, tenant of some kind, right? And then we also have our OpenText one in Azure in the same thing, but you're in Atlanta, so it has to come to you in Atlanta then back. So it's still pretty quick.
Right. So you can see my documents in here. I can even pull in my Salesforce site up here and open this up. Oh, sorry, locked out.
So this is, you got extended ECM for Salesforce running here, huh?
Yeah, so this is where I connected it to the workspace. So you can see 3 items in here. So you can bring the documents in, right? And it's a very common use case when you are setting extended ECM for the first time because users may have their data in different areas and you tell that it's a single source of truth, but till you do the migration, it's really not, right? So it's a great opportunity. Without any build time, you can enable your users to start that migration process themselves and, you know, enable a lot of self-service within your organization to bring the data faster, reduce your overall time to have the success mark for extended ECM solutions, right? So, okay, I'm going to jump to the second scenario because a lot of people in the poll said that they update the metadata. So I'm going to show you that today. So this is done. I'm going to close it. I want to update attributes. So I'm going to use the update attribute field here. And you can see again in here, I have the option for new or from Excel sheet. So that's a common factor. The screen is a little different here because we are going to select documents which are in content server. There are various ways in which I can look them up. I can do a search. So I can search based on in a location based on a category or a classification or an RM attribute, or I can just do a browse and select. Or the last one would be a safe search, which means I have already set up the category parameters for the search and I'm going to use that. So I'm going to just list down all the contract files, which means if the name contract is there in the document or if the content is there in the file itself, then bring that file up for me. And it was able to find 5 documents from different workspaces which match my criteria. So I'm going to select all those 5 documents and click on the next button. In this profile, I'm also going to add this document type category. Sometimes for contracts, you will also have like contract date, contract type, contract end dates because your RMs are, you know, driven by that. So you can use that. I'm not going to update any item description. Let's go on the next button. And in a minute, you will see that it has got those documents up and it has given you this option to select the type. Now I can select contract in here or I can individually do it. If I do make a mistake, it's going to give me a prompt saying that this is not a valid information. Please select a correct one. And then I again have that option of selecting the correct contract related.
This is very nice. I mean, trying to get your records management straight in all your classifications, just being able to do it in bulk right here is fantastic, Renita.
Yeah. And you can see that it has given you all the information based on whatever you have configured for your RM. But if you want to really put in any other information, you are allowed to do that. And once you have filled this Excel sheet, again, you have an option either to save it, come back to it later, or just run it or schedule it. I'm going to run it for now. And you can see it has started and it has updated 5. I would go to one of the documents just to show you everything is up in here. You can see the contract document in here with the category, and I'll go to the record detail page to show you that my RM was applied, my classification was applied, and related to that, the file number and the RSI is also applied. So you saw it was pretty simple. It's no coding. All you need to do is set up your profiles, and either you or your technical team or even the business users can do it. It's all clicks, and you just follow the screen. Very intuitive, right? Okay. So yep, that's all from my end, Bren.
And
I
one
can
other thing, can I ask you a question? One other thing is like, with the new feature, it's just a quick configuration whether if you're going to use the API mode, right?
Yes, so I can show you that. In here, this is my admin client, and you can see that there would be an option just to tick whether you want to use PDM Lite or not. Once you tick that, you are done, and then you can go ahead and set it up, and you can see all the REST API configurations would be there. So it's up to you how you want to use it, and then you go ahead and set that thing up. So it's just like a tick of the button.
It's a big improvement, and it just simplifies deployment, right? So it's just so much easier. You can have this and just point it at your content suite, and then it's just so much faster to get things moving. So
Yep.
so thank you for that, Renita.
Uh-huh.
I think so we're right at the 30-minute mark, so we're on time. That was pretty good, So if there's any questions, you can throw them into the chat window. What else? I had a few questions that came through. If we want to just cover them real quick here, Renita.
Sure.
So I got one. I think you answered it during the can the bulk data manager tool be deployed to the end users? And then they're asking about like professional services and so forth. How easy is it to do? It doesn't take a lot of professional services, and it's kind of nice that you can do that, right? Set it up for the business users, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like you deploy a WAR like any other solution that OpenText has. So it's pretty easy for your administrators to do it. And then once it is deployed, all you need to do is give the links to your users, and they will be able to download and use the tool. The only thing that you need to do is make them enabled on the admin tool, and just so that not everyone who's not supposed to use the tool doesn't do it, and they're on, and then just give them the basic training, and they're good to go. Any end user can do it. There's no coding required, so it's an Excel-based solution, so they can do it that. Yeah.
So their access to the tool is basically the same access they have to OpenText. So the folders they can see in OpenText is what they'll see through the tool, because it's the same username and password basically, or ACL, correct?
That's right. So let's say that you have an HR department, you have a legal department, you want to give them the upload features, you can do that very well, and then they will only be able to select the folders that they have access to. So you have kind of like streamlined the process a little bit for them. They don't do anything wrong, and because they don't have access to do it.
Yeah, I'll tell you just a little war story or a customer success story. We have one customer that's financial related, and they're bringing in all their files from network shared drives. I think last year they used the tool to bring in like over 28 terabytes of data, and they have another 50 to go in this year. And they're using this tool with a few people to bring it in, and it's working well for them. So they're excited about that.
Yep.
So they're able to bring the content in from their shared drives and then, enrich it with the metadata that they want. So, and do it in a safe way.
Right.
Hey, what's your thoughts on the transmission throughput? Any file type limitations?
No file type limitations as such. You can upload anything that you can upload to OpenText via the GUI. You can do it here with this tool. For transmission, I would say that it really depends on the infrastructure that you are having, right? Like if you're running just one instance of content server with, let's say, 8 threads and it's slow, it's going to be slow for the tool as well, because we are going to use your setup at the end of the day. So the way I would go through is have it install on a non-prod environment, which is similar, maybe a pre-prod environment, run a test, you get good logs at the end of it, extrapolate that and find out what your migration effort would look like on a long-term basis. And you don't need to babysit it. Start the process, fill up the Excel sheet, and let it run in the background. And then once it is done, come in the next day and look at it, right? So you can kind of like use that information to see how often you should run your migration tool. So I hope that answers the question.
It does. It does. And I guess the only thing I have add, I know we had a couple projects last year where customers, it's not just documents they want to bring in, but they want to archive like a whole bunch of email files they have, or I think video files, voicemail files, their audio files. So they had all their audio recordings and they wanted to archive that in the content suite. So they use BDM for that too. So, there's no practical file size, file type limits that we have. We can be pretty good with all that.
Yep.
Okay. Somebody asked about evaluations. So the answer is yes. If you want to do an evaluation, we're happy to help you with that. Do it in a non-prod environment. Very common request. So no problem on our side if you want to schedule an evaluation for something like this. So happy to work with you on that too. So please reach out if you want to do that. I think, we're done on questions. I guess I'll thank our audience who's hanging in there with us. I think we went over a few minutes, but I appreciate your time today. I'm Brian Lapointe, Renita Day from Fastman. We're here to help you in any which way we can, and look forward to speaking with you this year sometime. Okay? Have a great day, everyone. We'll talk later.
Bye-bye.